Dan Wootton, the 5 most remarkable fighters in Britain today.
Amir Khan, David Hay, Carl Froch, Kell Brook, probably George Groves, because you know Tyson Fury. Don't mind long as well.
Okay. Frankie Gavin versus Kell Brook. Is it viable in the near future? If so, who wins?
No, not at the moment because Kell Brook's got a world title shot. Frankie Gavin's a brilliant young fighter. He's got to fight someone serious though. I mean, not being funny. His last 2 fights, Bradley Price. No, he was supposed to fight Lamptey, who was probably even worse. But and David Barnes, very talented young fighter. In my opinion, not in Kell Brook's league at the moment. Maybe that could be a huge domestic fight in a year or so. But you know, Frankie's got to fight. So I think Frankie should fight Leonard Bundu. It's a great fight.
Okay, that was from Colin Gilling. Stuart Smith, who do you think is the most underrated boxer in the UK?
Potentially Darren Hamilton. I think he's a very good fighter. Underrated. Who else is underrated? Rocky Fielding might be underrated as well, you know.
Next question is about Rocky Fielding actually. Chris Rossi, Eddie, do you think that Sky have something against Rocky Fielding? As many people do, and I think against Rocky Fielding, as many people do, and I think many agree that he's a fighter that could go far and doesn't get the recognition he deserves.
No, I disagree with that. I think Sky like Rocky Fielding a lot. I think that because he hasn't been in those big fights yet against the big tests. I mean, fought Wayne Reed, right? Won the English. Fought Carl Dilch before that. Then he fought for the Commonwealth against, you know what, a Ghanaian who actually weren't really that bad, who actually went 6 or 7 rounds with the Mexican Rubio, and Rocky banged him out in a round. But then, of course, everyone goes, he was just a stiff they brought over. And then he was a demolition job of Blackledge, which was very impressive. So, no, I think that it's hard to take someone ultra seriously until they're stepping up to that level. But he stepped up against Blackledge and knocked the guy out in 1 round. And I think he's underrated, Rocky Fielding. I think he's going to have a really good year in 2014.
Okay, Daniel Welling, do you honestly approve or like what the WBA do in regards to their world titles? I know what they do is up to them, but if you're running their organisation, would you have 3, sometimes 4 world champions on your books?
Say 3 or 4 world champions. I don't regard as the WBA interim as a world title, number 1. Do I like what they do with the super champs and the regular champs? Not really. I think sometimes it can work in a division where there is a super champ that's virtually untouchable. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a Mayweather. Because how are you going to get a shot at Mayweather? Do you know what I mean? So I think what it's doing is it's freeing up opportunities for other people, but is it diluting the World Championship brand? Is probably a better question, and quite possibly. But I can't, as a promoter, I don't detest it because it does give fighters opportunities to win world titles. And as long as the fights are real, then I don't mind it. Do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, Murray against Fletcher that was mooted, that for me, you can't have that fight as a world title. You know, and that's essentially what's happened. But, you know, look at like Quig Salinas, for me, that feels like a genuine world title fight. So I think it's a case-by-case basis. I don't think, you know, I can't sit here and tell you, yeah, it's great, yeah, it's right, because I can understand why people think it's not. But with a promoter's hat on and an opportunity hat on, it does, you know, it does give fighters the opportunity, as long as the fights are real and they're proper world title fights.
So what belt are they actually fighting for then?
Which who?
The Murray and Jett.
Interim, defensive Murray's interim belt.
Okay. Paul McAllister, has there ever been a fight you've been planning to make, but because of the negative feedback you got from fans, you changed your mind about it?
Mitchell Katsidis, the rematch. And I didn't make the fight, but I had plans to make that fight in December. And then I looked at the response, and the response was awful. And I thought, really? I thought that was a really good, interesting fight. So it's not that I changed it's not that it was made and then I decided not to, but I was thinking about that fight, and I read the fans' comments and decided not to push it as hard as I might have.
Okay. Mark Baker, with all the controversy over decisions and stoppages throughout 2013, and not just in England, what more could be done to prevent this? Do you think technology, i.e. live punch stats, could be used to aid judges make decisions?
I don't like that. I'll tell you what I did with Barker Stern in Germany, and again this is giving people a lot of detail. I asked for a meeting with myself, Ufa, who are the promoters representing Stern Boxing, Lindsay Tucker from the IBF, and the 3 referees. And we all sat down before we left for the venue, and we stressed the importance of fair play, integrity, concentration, the main thing. You can't sit there and say to a judge, now, we don't want any bad decisions out of you, son. Well, all we said was, this is a world title fight where you've got a champion fighting away from home, you've got a home fighter. Take the noise away, take the occasion away, take the fact that one's a champion away, take the fact that one's in his hometown away, and score the fight on a round by round basis. And I left that meeting like, you know what I mean? It's not that they've been warned, but we just stressed the importance of this fight and how important it was that the officiating was correct. And I think maybe that's something that I'll start doing a little bit more with, you know, all judges, and maybe with the fighters there as well. You always have a rules meeting, but this was a different kind of meeting. People just need to be on it. You know, it's like a referee. If they're going into a game like just not fully concentrated, they make mistakes, they make bad decisions. And same with a judge. If you're sitting there, round one, it was him. You've got to be. You talk about fighters' careers here, you know. So you've got to be switched on. And I do think if judges sometimes a judge can make a bad decision. If they make a series of bad decisions, then they should be looked at.
Okay. Calvin Campbell, who do you think should fight for the vacant WBC heavyweight title? And do you believe Wilder, Fury or Chisora deserve a shot?
No is the answer, but then who does deserve a shot? So you just have to look at the rankings, and I'm glad they've gone down the rankings, you know, in a correct manner. Steve Hearn will fight Ariola, I believe. That's the word going around, who's number 1 and number 2, which is how it should be. No one's fought a final eliminator, so.
Okay.
Of the ones you mentioned.
Sorry, this is questions here, but it says Murray, who is mandatory for Golovkin, is that true?
Well, he's the interim champ, so you could probably forge an argument.
I'll read this question. Do you agree with Murray, who's mandatory for Golovkin, fighting on the same night, same venue for a belt within the same organisation as Golovkin? Surely it should be Golovkin versus Murray.
You know, these mandatory situations aren't always called for. Like, Quigg is the regular belt holder, so is he mandatory for Rigondeaux? Don't know. I hope not. You know, but seriously, I don't think that they're going to say, right, you have to fight him. At some point, they'll want that fight to happen. But I think Murray may end up fighting Golovkin. Maybe not on that bill, but in the future.
That was from Jamie
Law.
Don't know, loads of E's.
Oh, right, okay.
Mark Prince, I think Crawford will knock out Burns before 10 rounds in their match in February or March. If Burns survives, I will donate £100 to charity of your choice. If he doesn't, will you be willing to donate £100 to a charity of mine?
No, not really. I don't even know the geezer. But no, I mean, it's a great fight. Crawford's very talented. I'm going to start having individual bets with random people on Twitter. But, you know, I think Burns is going to come back and give a great performance this time, and he's got a lot to prove. Crawford is a great fighter. Let's see how good he is in Glasgow.
Okay. Katie Clark, what does Eddie think of the chances of David Hay coming out of the woodwork next year to fight for the vacant?
I don't think he will.
No?
I don't think David Hale fight again. And that's not with me having any inside information, that's just my gut feeling.
Okay. Michael Geggy, the question is, when will you start putting together undercards that are competitive? I recently tweeted you the standard of your undercards, which you then picked 5 of the 13 fights you said were 50-50s, then called me clueless. What about the other 8? They were awful mismatches. Do you honestly think you can keep misleading the fans with those standards?
Well, what did I call him?
Clueless.
He's clueless. Geggy, you're clueless. Because let me tell you, when you're putting 13 fights on a card, you can't have 13 50-50s. Alright, sorry, I had 5 or 6 50-50s on that card. Other fighters, you're progressing. Other fighters are coming back from injuries. When we used to do a show with 7 or 8 fights on it, you'd have 1 or 2 50-50s. The rest is just a fighter in a 6-rounder. I mean, 6-rounders and 4-rounders aren't going to be 50-50 fights. It's just not what happens. And on certain shows, like for instance, December the 14th, there was some weird situations where Murray was on, Paul Smith was on with a couple of days' notice. What do you think Paul Smith was going to suddenly be in a 50-50 fight for a final eliminator? It doesn't work like that. So, you know, people were pleased to see them on the bill amongst the other 50-50s. And don't start saying that undercards are shit. Look at what fucking used to be. Awful. Now, you look at like Wales, for example, Selby against Monroe, Reese against Buckland, Chris Jenkins in a good fight, Cook against Tony Place, Joshua against Darch. You look at Hull on the 22nd, Tommy Coyle, Luke Campbell, Curtis Woodhouse against Darren Hamilton, another big fight will announce for Gavin McDonald later this week. I mean, these are fucking ram shows. Look at the past, you know, and just because there's 13 fights on as opposed to there used to be 8 and there used to be 2 50-50s, sorry, there's now 5 or 6 50-50s in 13 shows. Every show has different opportunities, different things we have to overcome. So unfortunately, Geggy, and I do know Geggy, you are clueless on this one, but we won't hold it against you.
Okay.
Give him some tickets. Give him 2 tickets. I feel bad.
Geggy's on it.
And when he says misleading the public, I'm not misleading the public when I'm telling you the truth. There are 5 or 6 50-50s on this card, and the other 7 or 8 are not 50-50s. They are fighters who have coming off defeats, fighters that are looking just getting out before Christmas. That's the truth. And if you're telling the truth, you ain't misleading anyone. Geggy, me old son.
I had a personal pick for worst question of the day.
This the one.
This is from Nev Koshel.
Oh, Nev.
Right. Big Nev, this is terrible. Being a die-hard boxing fan and a big fan of matchroom boxing in general, it's really important for me to know that on Christmas Day, if you get a pair of neck socks with the days of the week on it, will you wear the right socks on the right day or just randomly?
Nev was out of his nut when he sent that message. What is he talking about? Let's crack on.
Oh. Lee Tyra, has the abuse you received over the stoppage of George Groves made you think twice about promoting or made you even hungry to put huge shows on?
I wouldn't say it hurts, but you feel it, you know, because again, I don't want any violins or anything, but I put a lot of my life into this sport, a lot of time away from my family, and you know, when we were up and coming in the game, it was matchroom, breath of fresh air. Now we're doing the same. Actually, no, we're doing much better. But we're number one. You become a target, and that comes with a territory. So you can't start sitting there and say, "Oh, I don't like what people say about us," because the bottom line is we're number one. You know, head and shoulders. We can't get complacent, and you know the haters do motivate you to do better, but some of it hurts because I know how much I'm putting into the sport, and I'm not always doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the fighters and my love of the sport. So, sort of at times makes you think. And after the Groves thing, that was surprising because I didn't expect that, you know. And I was at the XL and nearly kicked off with some geezer in the crowd. Chris, like, shit, you know. He said to me, "Oh, you're always at it, you are." I went, "What?" He went, "Yeah, cheating." I said, "Fuck off." "No, I've had enough," he said. I said, "Well, don't fucking come then." You know, and he's like, "Oh." But if you honestly think that, I don't want you at my shows, because if you think the sport's corrupt or we're corrupt, don't come. don't watch it, because you shouldn't want to watch it if that's what you really think.
Yeah.
But deep down, do you really think that?
No.
I mean, if you do, you're a plum.
George Rogers, if you could choose one to be involved in, just pick one here. Joshua to win the world heavyweight title, later on to reach the premiership. Which one?
I think Joshua winning the heavyweight title is a lot more realistic. Let's put it that way. So
You go for that, yeah. Okay. Aaron Shelter, 3 things you love and 3 things you dislike about me.
What, Aaron? I don't know.
No, about me. Cool.
Yeah.
Be careful what you say. We've all seen the training video with Don Charles.
Things I like about you, you're hardworking, you've got a good work ethic. You are good company, to be honest with you. Like, because you're not busy. Like, you're not like we can drive up to somewhere and literally not say a word. Things I dislike, you are messy, and I know I am too.
What do you mean?
Like, you're just a bit of a sloth. You know what I mean? Like, with your food and like, do you know what I don't like about you? You're smoking in like little lardy-dars, stinking the car out when you get in. Like, you know, I hate about people. Like, if you're smoking, you go, and then you throw it away, and then you get in the car, and then like it's still coming out your nostrils. Do you know what I mean? Like that. I'm answering it. You know. That's it, really.
I don't agree with the first one.
You are a bit messy.
With what?
You've always got like your jeans hanging around your arse, and you.
That's a
crap,
cardinal. That's
like.
a cardinal thing.
Is it?
Oh, he's just admitted to being a shit stirrer, but it could be good entertainment for the fans. Haha. Jane Granville. Where do I know this name from? Jane Granville.
Porky Russ's missus, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Are the rumours true on the forums about other promoters meeting at a summit and plotting a get Hearn plan to see you off? Is that true?
I heard this on Twitter. It's probably rubbish, but I did hear it that promoters are getting together to try and get me out or try and overcome me. Great, fucking makes me feel $1 million. Ain't gonna happen, though.
See, I'm getting your haters. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Dave Shep, why don't you have Box Nation if you're a big lover of boxing?
Because like I'm involved with so much boxing. The last thing I want to do when I've got a Saturday night free is sit up and watch boxing.
I think we've stated this before anyway.
But again, look, Box Nation, I think it's got some great international content. It has. Okay. I've said it before, you know. But when I've got a weekend off, which is very rare, I don't want to be sitting up watching boxing.
Okay, Alan Mace, Kugan, can you ask Eddie if he had to name one of his fighters who won't win a world title?
I don't think there's many that can't win a world title, or you know, can't have a realistic shot at one. So no, bollocks.
Sorry, Alan. Jack Brody, I want to know the process of matchmaking and ultimately who decides the opponent and what route they go down. For example, Connor was supposed to fight Geffen for the British. Presumably he's well ranked for the European and well ranked within the WBO. Who decides which route goes to go, and does this become complicated sometimes? Another example is Selby, well ranked within all governing bodies. How do you come to a decision which route to go down? From Jack Brody.
You look at the champions, you look at the division, who's above. I think Selby's not world ranked. I think Selby's world ranked in 2, I think.
Well ranked, not world ranked.
No, well ranked, no, because I think he's only ranked in 2.
Right.
But might be wrong. It's all about the opportunity at the time, the fight, the timing, sitting down with the team. How do we decide to sit down with a fighter and their trainer and their manager if they've got one? And you know, really just look at the opportunity. The Geffen fight was one that I felt was a decent fight at that time, and obviously we've got to remake that fight. And if we don't, maybe we'll look at a world title option. But each individual fight on its merits, and each individual fight, you know, dependent upon where that person is, who the champion is, when their mandatories are due, you know.
Okay, Paul Adams, with Khan looking likely to face Mayweather and Porter probably forcing a weight to fight Brook, Have you thought about the odds of Brooke Porter on the Mayweather-Khan undercard? Builds Brooke a name internationally, and if he wins and Khan loses, it sets up beautifully for the big domestic.
Yeah, I've thought that could be the kind of date where that fight might happen, and it might be one that they should look to put on that undercard. So yeah.
It's just to DM him if you want to buy his shorts. Paul Adams, anything there? Right, this is one question. Dave Farrell, looking forward to this interview. Okay, Eddie Hearn, a great year for boxing which your fighters will learn. He jumps in the ring to show his unrivaled passion. At press conferences and interviews he displays his eye for fashion. It's great news. It's great news to see a new deal with Sky. Matchroom's involvement is putting boxing on a high.
Is there more?
He's desperate to make the fight between Amir and Kel and Sky pay-per-view. He's convinced it will sell. In 2014, he will make the big fights. Foxgrove 2 would be one of those nights. He's transparent, smug, loves final eliminators, but without Kugan Cassius, what would he do?
That doesn't rhyme.
It does.
He's transparent and smug.
Hold on.
Loves final eliminators.
Two.
But
no,
right.
He loves final eliminators too, but without Kugan Cassius, what would he do?
Oh, I see what he done there.
Give him something.
What's his name?
David Farrell.
Give him the 2 tickets on my right.
Yeah.
The old Cardiff show. Yeah, it's quite amusing.
That's quite good, isn't it?
I'm concerned that he's got time to come up with that, but maybe.
He actually had a question.
Go on, do the question. If it's a shit question, we'll take the question. Take the tickets away.
If you had the power to change 3 things about boxing, what would they be?
I'd have more random testing around the world for pets. I'll probably have greater clarity, not necessarily with the governing bodies and the champions, but as to when the mandatories are due, because I think the mandatory system is very, very important to give people opportunities. And number 3...
What about less belts?
Again, I can understand the argument for clarity for fans, but for fighters and for opportunities, if there's one champion and it's Floyd Mayweather in a division, how are you going to get the shot?
Yeah, but...
And you can't say, well, you've got to fight the best. But those fighters are in other fights, or they're trying to fight Mayweather themselves. So, you know... But
what about the interim?
I don't really like I don't mind the silver belt, because it's... The silver belt for the WBC is like an interim belt, but I don't mind the interim belts, but don't ever class them as world championship belts. You know, it's not a world championship. So, like, people say to me, oh, are you saying that WBC silver title is a version of the world championship? No, not in a million years. All it is like an interim belt that gives you an opportunity to move in a position to fight for the title. Next question.
Tom Farrell, British boxers looking good at the moment. Would you consider some joint promotions with Frank Warren? You both have some great young fighters who would benefit from such great matchups and bigger crowd than normal.
Well,
is it a broadcast?
Yeah, it's a broadcast event. It's not really even down to politics. The basics is I'm trying to put on the best shows I can for Sky. He's trying to put on the best shows he can for Box Nation. He wants his fighters to fight on Box Nation. I want my fighters to fight on Sky. If we're in a purse bid scenario where one of us loses, then, as we've seen, a la Liam Smith against Eric Ochi, a la Ryder against Saunders, no problem in probably either of us swallowing and putting him on that channel if it's the right thing for our fighters.
Okay, Liam Riedel. What determines how much a fighter is paid in a particular fight? Like Carl Froch, for example, how does he get a percentage of pay-per-view and ticket sales, or is it a set rate regardless?
I'm not going to go into too much detail. When you get to that level, you're a pay-per-view fighter. You take general ownership of the show, and we'll be working more in a percentage capacity for that fighter. Otherwise, it goes down to financial planning, looking at the revenues of the show and putting the purses together accordingly. Obviously, a fighter is generally judged by the interest from the broadcaster, the viewing figures, and the number of the bums he puts on seats. If you're a fighter that doesn't sell tickets or has little relevance to a broadcaster, you ain't going to get paid great money.
Okay. Josh Evans, how are negotiations going for Brian Rose's world title fight next year, and will it be in the UK?
Negotiations are ongoing. It's been quite a lengthy process. Andrade quite likes the fight with Kirkland. He can't have that without our permission. To develop Brian and to give him the experience, I would be interested in looking at fighting on that bill and facing the winner. Brian fighting on that bill on HBO and facing the winner. If it's not the right package, then we'll just fight Andrade now. It'll all be resolved in the next 3 or 4 days.
Okay. Adam Harper, Eddie, if I win the ABAs this season, will you sign me for Matchroom Boxing? Give me a chance, man.
I've seen him on Twitter.
Seen him fight?
No.
Okay. Kieran Shanks, Eddie, why do you think in recent years it's been difficult promoting major shows in London? You've previously spoken of your happiness with niche markets in Glasgow, Belfast and Hull, but London has not been a major success for Matchroom or Frank Warren. Froch Kesler to aside, as it's simple as being a lack of London-based headliners, are you hoping Joshua fills this void in the future?
You know, London is really, really difficult, and I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the lack of community in London. Do you know what I mean? Like when we go to Hull, we go to Liverpool, the city seems to come out and support the night. And when you do it in London, there's so much going on, you just don't get the same response. London's been really, really tough. The O2 show with Joshua, we had some decent numbers in. We struggled a bit at the XL, had like 3,000 in. We had 2,000 or 3,000 at Wembley, you know, and the same sort of numbers at the Copperbox shows. A couple of thousand, I think they had in there the other day. And that's poor numbers. And financially, you're going to struggle, as we did on that show, and I'm sure they did as well. Froch Kesler goes on sale, boom, 2 hours. So when you've got the right product and it's big enough in London, it's a huge success. And when it's like a good show, but I'm going to go and see that instead, or I'm going to go and have a night out there, you know.
Is it a case of who the fighter is really though?
Probably, yeah. Or, you know, but I can't see us being in London. You know, maybe Froch's next fight, if we do the Groves fight, will be in London, you know, in May, and that might be our next London show, because it's not, you know, it's not proving to be a winner.
But the prize fight thing, obviously.
Prize fight's fine, yeah, we can go to prize fight. We always sell your call out for that.
Works on that.
Yeah.
Alright, Johnny Lawn, with Matchroom taking up the majority of big cities, does Eddie look to make Josh Warrington a Matchroom fighter?
Joshua
Warrington.
Oh, Josh Warrington. Apologies, I thought you said Joshua.
No, Josh Warrington. A Matchroom fighter has a good relationship with Steve Wood, would make it happen. He grows massively in Leeds and has Leeds United backing with Sky and Matchroom. Eddie could be selling Leeds Arena out on a regular basis, as Leeds is the third biggest city in England.
I'm speaking to Steve Wood about Josh Warrington. It's difficult because he's not really a headliner at the moment. He just won the Commonwealth title. Great fight. But yeah, Leeds Arena could be a target, and Josh could be heavily involved with it.
Okay. Niall Burke, Eddie, in an ideal world, would you have liked Ricky Burns to have had a tune-up fight after struggling against Beltran and Gonzalez before getting in with a young unbeaten prospect like Crawford?
No, he's too far down the line for tune-up fights.
Yeah.
I would have liked him to fight Beltran, and Crawford's a much tougher fight, but you know, too far down the line for tune-ups.
Right, listen, we've got 2 pages, let's just go from. Okay, Pokey Russ. Eddie, who's your biggest hater on Twitter?
Don't know, I've blocked about 20 people lately. It's a toss-up, isn't it? Gibbo, Brian King and Hazo, whatever his name is. Oh no, that other lunatic. Bullshit.
Boxing fanatic.
Oh.
Funny enough, I blocked him yesterday.
Yeah, only yesterday, he done well.
Done well. He was alright, he's been alright, and then he's just started being a prat, so gone.
People keep going to me, when are you going to unblock Brian King? I'm like, do you know how nice it is having Brian King blocked?
He's alright.
Oh.
No, listen, like, since I unblocked him...
Do you know what it is? It's not... I don't mind.
I know what it is, it's the feed.
Yeah, I don't mind. Like, sometimes I find that Hazo geezer and Brian King, like, quite good banter. I've never really found out Gibbo good banter. But the problem is like, you're going through and it's like fucking pages and pages of just them
get
talking
tagged in,
shit,
yeah.
and it's like, you know, sure they're decent blokes, but
He did actually one of his, because he sent a lot of questions in. I think he sent about, we had
have
like,
you asked a Brian King question yet?
and it's coming.
Alright.
This was, we had over to like, just, I think it was just under 2,000, I think it was about 19.
I said to Brian King, like, he's got, see, I always feel that I can answer these questions, and people will go, fair enough, at the end of it. But I keep saying to Brian King, just phone the office, and you can ask me them all on the phone. I ain't doing that, you wanker. Alright, but get off my timeline then.
Fair enough. Tommy Gary, if made, what venue is most likely to host Foxgrove's tour, and how many tickets can you sell for this?
I'd like to do it outdoors, and I'd like to do it at Wembley. And I think it can do 60 or 70,000.
Okay. Marcus Sales, Callum Smith is currently ranked 28th in the super middleweight division by the WBC. In 12 months' time, where do you envisage him being in the rankings? PS, for some mental reason, Chris Eubank Jr. is ahead of him in the rankings at 25th.
I wouldn't take too much notice of that. I think he'll be top 10 within 12 months. He's only had 9 fights, so.
Okay. Rangers Insider, will Burns look to Beltran again if he beats Crawford?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I think it's time for unification after Crawford, to be fair. I mean, the only reason, obviously, the Crawford fight is such a good fight that it feels like a unification, because Crawford is top level.
Last question after that, if it works out.
Got to fight Shafikov, tough fight. Probably have to go to Russia.
Tony Weastel, when are you going to bring some boxing to Coventry?
Yeah, I always get this. Like, give him some tickets to Wales, because he's like relentless about bringing. I just don't know is the answer. I mean, I just don't.
What fighters are from Coventry?
I've no idea. The only fighter I know from Coventry, unfortunately passed away, is young Richie Everett, who we used to look after years ago. But like I said, we have to win every time we go. We put on a show. And I just don't know if it can work in Coventry.
Okay.
Sorry, mate.
Oh, there's a hashtag in that, bringing boxing back to
Yeah,
Coventry.
they always said that. Yeah.
Ben Thomas, Eddie, what's the best Christmas present you've ever received?
I don't know. Sorry.
Pants?
I got some nice luggage off the old man a couple of years ago.
Louis?
Yeah, that was quite nice.
Okay, John Jones. Who does Eddie think that Mayweather's last opponents, and if Brooke had fought Alexander in their first fight, like the first time round, and won, do you think that Kell would have been in the running to fight Floyd?
I do.
So who do you think his last opponent?
I think he can fight Mayweather in time.
His last fight?
Maybe. I'd like to see him fight Pacquiao. And I still think that, I've just got a feeling that fight's going to happen. I just think that could be the cash out fight.
So what, Khan, Pacquiao, Garcia, Maidana?
I mean, Maidana, what if Porter beats Maidana? What if Maidana beats Porter? I don't know. But then you'd have to think that Broner's got a rematch clause.
I'm sure it'll come out soon. Hassan Ali, what percentage of total pay-per-view revenue goes to the broadcaster?
None of your business.
Okay.
And I can't answer that, I'm afraid.
My question to Eddie is from Benjamin Jones. My question to Eddie is: me and my friend have been loving the boxing movement and follow matchroom shows up and down the country. However, when the major fights happen, i.e. Fox Groves, we don't get a look in. Eddie, what are the chances of you doing a matchroom loyalty scheme for tickets? I understand you have to broadcast to wider audiences. It's just frustrating for boxing fans who don't get a chance to get hold of tickets.
Well, as he does it, give him some tickets for Wales. It is something I've thought about, and it's something I'm working on. Thinking about it and working on it and implementing it is another story. We're so busy with stuff that it makes you just want to go on sale and sell it out. But I know we have to think about our fans, and I do appreciate the people that come to matchroom shows, loyalty schemes, loyalty stuff. It is stuff that is on my mind, and hopefully we'll come up with something. I'll cough a bit more, you're alright.
I've got this cough back just in time for Christmas. Luke High. Hiya, Kugi. And Fastcar. Firstly, what a year it's been for British boxing. Secondly, does Eddie believe the exposure of IFL being the biggest influence press-wise in British boxing? I believe fights only as big as its build-up, and you have to understand the relationship between the fights. It makes it huge, i.e. Coyle versus Matthews turned into a massive fight, but had it been in the undercard of Froch and Groves, it wouldn't have been something of a talking point. But IFL basically made Coyle and Derry a big fight.
Did you write this question?
I know how powerful we are.
Basically, this is very simple.
Big up, Luke, by the way.
This is very simple. Big fights only get national press. Like, as in, you know, the only time you're going to get national press coverage is from the big fights. So everything else is driven between local press, online press, yourselves, you know. So having you come down to a press conference where notoriously is not plagued with national media is a big help. So basically, IFL TV are hugely influential in the coverage that the perhaps lesser bills receive. When we do a big fight, I'd rather you didn't come, to be honest with you. I'm only joking. No, but do you know what I mean? Like, we don't need you as much, but I still make sure you get the access.
But that's where we get our core views from, you know.
Yeah, but those core views are also, you know, if we're on, you know, you're doing an interview with Carl Froch, and then so is BBC. Well, obviously, BBC is going to get significantly more numbers than you. I mean, don't take it the wrong way. Right, mate?
You're not filming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. We're nearly done, Steve, actually.
Happy Christmas.
Okay. Aklak Hanif. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologise. Eddie, is Carl Froch too in his ways to find a route to beat fighters like George Groves, Andre Ward, who have more of a quicker style than him?
Is he what, sorry?
Is he too into his ways?
Yeah, he's not going to change, is he? I mean, like, he's not, you know. But Froch is Froch. He's always been like that. He's not. I do think he's improving, but I think stylistically, Groves was. I always said in the lead up, stylistically, Groves was very awkward for Froch, as is Ward. But he finds a way, and you know, that's styles make fights, as they say. But he's not going to change, is he? I mean, how many fights has he got left? 1, 2, 3. You know, each fight at a time now, I think, for Carl. But you can always improve and try and work on things to beat the fighters that you're in with.
Okay. David Burke, question. With Frampton and Quigg attending the recent Kiko Martinez title defence, was Frampton there as well? And demand to see Frampton Quigg, would it make sense for Frampton to get his shot versus Martinez while Quigg has another defence under his belt? So should Frampton win the IBF scrap, the additional glamour of an all-British undefeated champion versus champion title unification boost the prestige of such a bout?
Yeah, it could be a big fight. I mean, at the moment, Frampton's lot are like desperate for the Martinez fight. We've got quite a few options. We'd like the Martinez fight as well, but there's a long way to go on everyone's behalf. But you're right, 2 belts in a fight with 2 Brits would be a huge fight.
Brian King.
Oh, go on, Brian.
Mikel Vasquez is a fight that could have been made for Ricky Burns for the last 12 months. So why have you held back Ricky's career? And to the point now that you have talked about Kevin Mitchell fighting him, a guy Ricky sparked out clean out in a few rounds.
Well, you talk about it's a fight that could have been made. It's been tried to be made by myself and other people, and it couldn't be made. And you know why? Because it's all about the numbers. What Miguel Vasquez wants to make this fight is too much money, and therefore the money for Ricky Burns in this fight is poor. You can't just sling a fighter in a unification fight for shit money, because it doesn't work like that. So you try and find a middle ground, and it wasn't being able to found by anyone. And actually, when you look at timings as well, when we had the Beltran fight, we tried to make that. He has we tried to then make the Vasquez fight again, and he's already been mandated to fight Shafikov. I've got no problems with making the Vasquez fight at all, nor has Ricky Burns. It just couldn't be made under the right terms. Very simple. Crawford's a better fighter than Vasquez, a better fighter in my opinion, right? But in terms of holding his career back, I mean, he boxed twice in 3 or 4 months, and again now he's fighting Crawford. He's fought some top level fighters. If that fight could be made, I would make that fight. But with the numbers, I ain't going to go to Ricky Burns and say, I can get this fight, but you've got to take much less money than you got for Mitchell, Gonzalez and Beltran in this big unification fight. So simple. Vasquez wanted too much money, and look at his career. He was supposed to fight MF Diaz, that fight never happened. Now he's got to fight Shafikov, so he's at fault as well.
I think you should offer Brian some tickets to Burns.
He never comes. I've offered him some tickets in the past. He said I ain't coming, and I think he got pissed and turned up.
Okay. Nick Hammond, James Hilda, I think you mean Helder, or Kugan Cassius, ranking them overall for intelligence, ability, modesty, and of course in the ring lastly.
I'd have to go for Helder against you in the ring.
Okay.
I think you can whack a little bit, but I just think he might outlast you.
Okay.
I worry about your fitness.
I worry about my fitness.
What was the other thing?
Modesty.
I don't know, you're getting quite big time these days. I see a lot of people asking for photos and autographs, and you're like, you know,
From what?
getting a bit big for your boots. That's something funny. You tweeted last night saying, going to do a Q&A tomorrow, get your emails in, they have to be in by this time. Some bloke replies, you're just getting too big for your boots, Kugan. It has to be in by this time. Who do you think you are? And you bit and all.
What? 2,000 emails. Get back from Arsenal Chelsea last night, sitting there through 2,000 emails. Told people not to send in more than one question. Brian King sends about 900 in of the 2,000, and other people did as well. So I think I am quite modest, to be honest.
Yeah, you are. Intelligence. I have to give you that one.
Sorry, James, that's 100% true.
Is it?
Ability.
Probably you. You get the interview. It takes them about 4 weeks to get an interview out, doesn't it?
Helder again.
All of a sudden, you get like a tweet come from Helder. Here is my interview with Hilda.
Yeah.
Here is my interview from
your call from 1904. Samuel Murphy, we're nearly done, we've got 2 questions left. In recent weeks you have had a bit of stick for the amount of 50-50 fights on the XL and the Foxgroves undercards. These cards were stacked with big name fighters. Do you believe you will get the right balance between the 50-50 fights and the amount of big name fighters on the bill? I thought that was a good question really, because that's what I said to you. I thought you had good names on the bill.
But I mean, but XL we had both, but people just chose to overlook the 50-50 fights. You know, Taylor against Floyd Moore, Boylan against Owens, Goodjohn against Connor, Purdy against Bundu. You know, and actually, to be fair, Mitchell against Zamora was not 50-50, but it was a good fight. We got unlucky. The Froch Groves card, I'll be honest with you, it was a fucking nightmare. We had fights pulling out, changing, non-stop. It's a mixture, and he's right about the balance. There has to be 50-50 fights. There has to be the names on as well, and sometimes those names aren't going to be in 50-50 fights. I ain't going to lie to you. You know, Martin Murray with this shot coming up in February was not going to have a 10-round war against, but I just thought it was nice to get Martin Murray on the card. And if you've bought a ticket for 30 or 40 quid to watch Lee Purdy against Bundu, yet you're getting Jay McDonald, Paul Smith, couple of 50-50 fights, and you're getting Martin Murray, then I think it's value for money.
Okay. Andrew Firth, have you thought of putting forward to Sky, select Dave Cole and Steve Wood shows on the red button? They already have cameras at events and could put some good fights on. This would seem good value for subscription viewers and potentially opening up more opportunities for matching boxers to fight. Yeah,
the problem is that what people have got to understand, the production money that goes into these shows, and you can't just say, oh, but they've already got cameras there. Not to Sky quality, you know what I mean? It's a completely different setup. So Sky have got a pot of money for boxing, and that pot is spent with us, and there's none left. So we can't start bringing in these other shows. I work with Steve Wood, Bundles. I work with Dave Colwell, Bundles. I think they both do a great job for boxing. But to send a whole new production setup to one of their shows, and again, I don't mean this with any disrespect, those shows wouldn't rate because they haven't got the household names or marquee names to get the ratings.
Yeah.
We've done shows before that I think really good shows, but with smaller names, and the ratings are like that.
Jason G, any news on Darren Barker's situation? Is he going to retire?
He's seen a specialist. We're going to have a sit down in a couple of days' time. He may have to have an operation on the hip again. Looks like he tore his ligaments in that fight. It looked like it popped out of his socket. It's not looking good, but we won't make a decision probably for another week or so.
All right, Eddie, can you sing A Christmas Carol on IFL TV?
Which one? What is A Christmas Carol?
No, it wasn't specific.
No, not really.
You're going to disappoint.
Apparently I was singing on ringside the other week.
You got caught out.
What was it?
Can't remember what it was. It was at Barker Sturm as well in the press conference.
Was it?
So you're going to disappoint.
I don't really know any Christmas carols. Well.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
What the fuck is that?
Do you know what? I've made that last one up.
Oh, what, to sing a song?
Yeah,
oh.
That's pretty good. All right, well listen. Sorry, there was just under 2,000. I think it was about 1,900 something. There isn't a system.
Well, that's going to be like another hour and I think 2 hours.
I think it's going to be an hour and an hour, which is good. I put one today and I put a Christmas special out tomorrow as well.
How's your year been?
My year?
You enjoyed it?
Yeah, been good. But next year, as long as everyone pulls their weight and puts...
We've got to crack on financially for I Film London in 2014.
Yeah.
Everyone says to me, amount of people, how do they make their money? I say, they don't. You know what I mean? So we've got to kick on business-wise in 2014.
Do you know what? I genuinely think the way forward from it, because there's no money in me coming to press conferences and even doing posts, you know what I mean? The money would be like, it's an advertiser's, it's got to be something there with sponsorship. It said like, we would have approached 16 million views in like, say two and a bit years.
But so what I could do is I could give you know what we should start doing? Like, say for instance you come to the Wales press conference. At the start of that video should be the poster, and the end, saying get your tickets now, and a number or a website, and I would pay you for that.
So why haven't you mentioned this before?
Because I don't really want to pay you. No, but seriously, we'll start doing that, I think.
Alright, we can talk about that anyway. There's like a bit of time off. So your first show is on Feb the 1st.
February the 1st, February 22nd, Hull. Looks like March the 1st, Glasgow with Burns. March the 15th, I think, Liverpool. And then April, Manchester. And then that's where we're up to.
Alright, just to clarify, if you heard your name mentioned for tickets, so they can have a choice of Hull or Wales.
Yeah, they can DM you their address and I'll send them the tickets.
We'll send you the tickets, so you can either go to Reloaded Show, Feb the 1st, Cardiff,
or Hull,
with Woodhouse and Hamilton, etc, etc. Who did we pick for?
The geezer with the poem.
The one that says Dave Farrell. You contact me as well.
He can sit front row.
He's at you sitting. Do you know that's quite good because you've never let me. You have actually. You've done it a prize fighter once. Let me sit front row with you. It's quite an experience.
All right, mate.
All right.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for your support in 2013. Onwards and upwards. I think sometimes when we have to look back and reflect, just look at boxing in 2010, 2011. And then look at boxing in 2012 and 2013. Come a long way, and we ain't stopping there. People ask us, how long are you going to stay in boxing for? Till the job's done.
Alright. Alright, well listen, that's 2013. Thanks for watching IFL TV and whatever shows he's put on this year. Make Foxgroves 2, whatever you need to do, however you got to get around it, just fucking do it. Don't fuck about with that one, because That's what we all want to see.
Okay.
Kugan Cassius, Eddie Hearn here for Eiffel TV. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much.